The member for Leichhardt.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Immigration, Citizenship, Migrant Services and Multicultural Affairs. Will the Minister inform the House on the progress of the Morrison government's plan to keep Australians safe from foreign criminals who flout our laws? And more importantly, is the Minister aware of any contrary approaches?
The Minister for Immigration.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I want to thank the member for Leichhardt for his question. He's a long-standing and serving member of this House, and he knows and has always taken seriously his responsibility to protect community safety, to protect Australians, to protect his electorate and people from serious criminal and national security threats. I do want to say yet that we have had a problem in the Senate with the passage of the government's plan to protect Australians from people who commit serious crimes against them. Yesterday, the Labor Party joined the Australian Greens in voting down the government's latest laws to protect Australians from foreign criminals. 26 Labor senators and 9 Greens combined to defeat this government's plans to protect people from the most serious offences and the most serious crimes committed by non-citizens, by people who are guests of our country, or to prevent them from ever coming here in the first place, Mr Speaker. It is hard to understand. I do want to take the House through some examples and some situations of why the government feels this is important, why we're going to progress this plan absolutely, and we're going to continue to pursue this as we have for the past 3 years. And this is a very serious matter. Let's just look at one example. A permanent visa holder in Melbourne a few years ago, after 2 a.m, was driving around and saw a car being driven by a 22-year-old young female Australian woman. He followed her to her destination, climbed into her car and held a knife to her throat. He whispered, "Be quiet or I will cut you." Thankfully, this Australian was able to grab that knife and stop this perpetrator from assaulting her, and the boyfriend was able to turn up and save her as well. The perpetrator was initially charged with serious offences. And as part of a plea deal, of course, that perpetrator under our system was able to get 8 months, under the 12-month current threshold for cancellation. But this government pursued the character test and said we will cancel that perpetrator's visa. When the government tried to cancel this perpetrator's visa, this was overturned on appeal. That's why this government has put forward legislation for the last 3 years, to deal with women's safety across our country from people who are not Australian citizens. They are guests in our country. If it was up to this government, this perpetrator would have already been gone from Australia. The question, Mr Speaker, again, this is not an isolated example. This is not one example.
Members on my left.
There are dozens of examples. There are hundreds of examples. We need to act.
Member for Lalor,
the Australian Parliament needs to act. The Labor Party needs to join us, leave the Greens behind, join the government and support these laws to protect Australians from these sorts of crimes.